All right, so let's dive in to the topic of today, which is resenting your kids. Now, I know from working with moms for a really long time, and I know from being a mom for a long time now, that there are a lot of people out there, a lot of experts talking about what we should be doing as moms. Here are books and books and books teaching us interventions and approaches and methodologies on how to be present with our kids, how to be a gentle parent or a connected parent, or how to set strong boundaries. I know boundaries is becoming a big buzzword now in the parenting community, and there are plenty of parenting experts out there that are telling us as moms what to do and what not to do. And when moms come to me for help with motherhood, one of the biggest things that I hear is that they've read a lot of things, they've listened to a lot of podcasts, they've tried a lot of things. However, those things aren't really doable for them or they don't work for their child. And there are plenty of reasons why that is true, that there is no one size fits all approach. And the biggest problem with a lot of these approaches or parenting techniques or guides is that, a lot of moms are experiencing anger, rage, meltdowns, shutdowns, resentment toward their kids. It's more normal than you would think. And I'm going to talk about what that looks like so you can recognize if it's happening for you. But what people really aren't paying attention to and talking about is that parenting is really an internal journey. It is an experience where we get to see reflected back to us through our kids' eyes the junk in our own channels, the places where we don't know how to process hard feelings, the places where we don't know how to come to terms with uncertainty, with our own fear, with feeling out of control. We don't know how to get grounded and create safety when we've never truly felt relaxation or calm in our bodies before. And so we hit the ground running in motherhood like we have in every other area of life where we have accomplished exactly what we want with pushing, with striving, with trying harder, with just becoming a machine of accomplishment and focus. And when you try to apply that engine to motherhood, essentially to relationships with beings who have completely raw energy, especially, younger years and teenage years. There's a lot of raw energy floating around there. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, one of the byproducts of this is resentment toward your own children. And I've seen this show up in a lot of different ways for people. So I want to give you a clear idea first of what it is and what it looks like. You may not even recognize that this is happening to you. So let's start off with what is it? What is resentment or resenting your kids? So I've seen it show up as just being mad at your kid for anything, just being mad at them. And that may sound silly, but because you're probably thinking, oh, I've been mad at my kids, so much of the time. But that can simmer and turn into resentment if you hold the anger or grudge. Some people call it a grudge. If you hold on to that or you personalize your children's behavior or a child's behavior and you think, why are you doing this to me? That becomes resentment. So, feeling mad, feeling like you want to avoid them, feeling like, oh, I just don't want to be around you right now. You kind of can't stand them. You're touched out. You don't want them near you. These are all kind of different forms of resentment and how they show up. Another one is you might believe that your child has it out for you. You might, some part of you, the part that is really suffering, really just dying inside for some time alone or to learn how to take care of herself, a part of her might actually believe that a 3-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 16-year-old really wants to punish you, wants to make you be miserable, and wants to see you suffer. And I'll tell you right now that that is like 99% of the time that is not true. And with young kids, it's absolutely not true. And the only way it will be true with a kid who grows older is that that's a pattern that you've instilled in the family system and in them, and they're not reflecting it back to you. So your child does not want to punish you or make you miserable, but resentment will tell you that it does. So another one, you might blame your kiddo for your own unhappiness, for your exhaustion, for, here's a biggie, your lack of fulfillment. If you feel unfulfilled in your life, you are not feeling satisfied, you're feeling like this parenting gig is not what you thought it was going to be, and you're just flat out mad about it, it's easy to look at who's in the room and pin that on them. And young kids who are, um, or big kids who are pulling your energy, who are really needing you, are an easy target. So you may feel resentful of them for that. And your brain wants to come up with all kinds of reasons why. It's a meaning making machine, and it's going to come up with so many ways and reasons and excuses and justify all of them. So, part of why I'm sharing this is because I just want to open your eyes to things that might be just outside of your purview, outside of your awareness, so that we can open the door and start to just let in what your experience is inside of you. Okay, so again, a lot of people will have you looking at your kids and trying to be a better mom, trying to shift your language or shift your approach, or say a boundary like this, or give a limit like this, or be compassionate and attached, be an attached parent like this, and create security for your kids. And all that is so great. But the reason why it doesn't work is because if what you feel inside of your body is this kind of stopped up, stuck energy, junk in your channels, you can't get around that to really be present or neutral or loving and connected with your kids, because there's junk in the way. There's anger in the way. There's resentment or bitterness in the way. Okay, and it may not even be about them. It may be about your parents or your upbringing or your family of origin. It could be about any of those things, but it comes out around your kids and in parenting. Make sense? So now let's just look at a couple of reasons why it happens. So why the heck might you be resenting your kids? I can remember a time when I was getting very little sleep, very, very little sleep, because I was giving a lot around the clock, and a lot of it was happening at night to my baby. She wasn't even a baby anymore, but it still felt like infancy because of the lack of sleep. And I can remember at some point in the middle of the night, uh, crying over her to myself and talking to myself about how this really wasn't about her. This really was mine, but I was in such deep pain and suffering and resentment because I wasn't getting my basic needs met. Because running on low sleep for so many years in a row had created this pattern where I was just looking to pin it on anyone. There was like no one to be mad at. If some of you are highly sensitive, if some of you are big feelers, you're empaths, then you know what I mean. You don't want to pin this on your kids, but man, when there's a real thing happening where you're not knowing how to meet your basic needs, and that's getting in the way of your functionality every day. And as kids grow, these patterns can really persist in our, call it motherhood wounding, in our trauma patterns. They can really get in the way of us knowing how to open to our own needs and take care of our needs. And so that's why we need to pay attention to them. Pay attention to them early rather than later. And I'll also say it's never too late to start noticing this stuff. So when you don't know how to meet your own needs, and this is a bigger topic here, but moms don't know how to meet their own needs when they don't know how to listen to what's going on inside of them. When we don't know how to pay attention to what we feel, we can't notice what unmet needs we're having, we just go straight to anger. Okay. Another thing that happens is resentment manifests because, not because kids are terrible or they're so needy, or because we are um, terrible moms, or any of those things your brain might tell you, but because it's a generational pattern. And generational patterns of trauma, neglect, emotional abandonment, all of these things are real. And you may never have known until you became a mom that you had these things in your history or your ancestral line. And yet here you are as a mom feeling this crazy, shameful, heavy, unexpected anger towards your kids. It's probably something in your generational line. It's probably something that is a pattern that is showing up now and that is repeating itself, that has happened in past generations. Another thing that can happen is you don't know how to make yourself happy. So this is kind of beyond basic needs. This is into like your kids are 8 and 10 and you are really successful in your career and you feel amazingly fulfilled in that respect, and you're maybe you have a really healthy partnership or marriage. Things are good for you in general, and yet you still are finding yourself, when it comes to like the depth of your soul, feeling not fulfilled, feeling like, and I hear people say this all the time on calls, what's the point? I have everything I've ever wanted kind of on paper. I have manifested this life of my dreams, and still I find myself feeling empty. I feel like, what's the point? I feel like no one knows this about me because I'm so good at hiding it and I put on such a brave face. And everybody else thinks I'm really successful and really good at what I do. And then I'm an amazing mother. And people say to me, gosh, I don't know how you do it. There's a lot of my clients. And when you slow down in the quiet of your own soul, in the stillness, you have a sense that there's something missing, that you're not connecting with joy. You're not knowing how to truly find happiness, how to really unplug and relax, how to be present with yourself and your kids when you're in this space. Okay, so when you are, and let me know if these things are happening to you. I want to hear. So when you are noticing that these things are going on for you, we're going to talk about what you can do about it. So some of the things that you can do to start to shift the trend or the pattern of feeling resentful, feeling angry, blaming your kids, or sometimes what happens is you turn it and blame it on yourself, because it is really hard to tolerate that anger toward your own children for more than a few seconds or a few minutes. If you have had a hard time tolerating that, you've likely shifted it to a partner or to self blame. So self bashing, they'd be better off without me kind of thought patterns and thought loops. And again, once again, I just want to reiterate and say that if we keep looking at motherhood as a game of trying to be better, push harder, achieve more, be that perfect mom, we're going to continue with frustration and ultimately overwhelm, because it's very outwardly focused. And plenty of people talk about that. I'm not interested in that. What I want to talk about is how to help you to really truly shift and up level from feeling like you're tapped out and exhausted to feeling like you and your family get to thrive, that you're all thriving. And the only way that that happens is by getting in control of you and how you feel. And the path to that is not about focusing on them, kids' behavior, what's wrong with them, what's wrong with me. That's not the way. The way is to tune in to you and find out more about what's going on underneath the resentment, behind the anger, before it comes. What is going on inside of you? And that part you can explore. You don't need a degree in psychology to do this. Anyone can do it. You can literally just stop what you're doing, slow yourself down for a moment. So, just kind of like suspending all the mental stories and thought loops and all the things that take your attention, and just take your attention from out here and draw it in and turn it into you. Now, this may be hard to tolerate the first time you try it if you have not done this kind of practice before. That's okay. You can just start where you are and just start to gently explore what's underneath or behind that resentment or anger or grudge or blame that you feel. And you can do it right now. Just stop what you're doing and just take a breath. And a breath is a great way to just connect quickly with yourself, to kind of remind yourself you have a body. This is something you may have a chuckle at that. This is something that like most mothers do not get, that they have a body. We become so disembodied when we're taking care of babies and then young kids, and we focus on them and we worry about their safety, and then we're so mad that we're so empty, that we're exhausted. We sacrifice so much, and like where is our fun and our joy? Maybe moments, snippets here and there, but like it's fleeting. That's that feeling that leads to resentment. It's this like, I'm so empty. I've given so much and I'm not feeling like I enjoy any of this. So, what I want you to do is just take a breath, draw your attention and energy into you, slow yourself down, and then start to tune into what is that feeling or sense in your body of resentment that you feel. Where does it live in your body? If you don't know that, that is okay. Just notice the feeling, the emotion. Name the emotion if you can. Next piece, what is the story I'm telling myself? What does the thought sound like that I'm having? What is it like? Who is the who is the focal point of my story? Is it me? Is it the kids? Is it someone else? Am I mad at my mom for her crappy parenting, or my dad? Am I wanting to blame somebody? So what is the story? If I'd had better parenting, then I wouldn't be like this. Or if only they would, then I wouldn't have to yell. Some people really get stuck in a what is wrong with you? there's this there's this sign that I see propped out in front of this sort of little boutique place in my neighborhood, and it's this really funny picture of like a with someone supposed to be a granny, and with a quote beside it, and the quote says, "It's like my mom always used to say, quote, what the hell is wrong with you?" Quote. And every time I see it, I have a chuckle because that was something that was in my generational patterns, and it just gives me such a chuckle. What the hell is wrong with you? And some of my New York friends and I have chuckled about that. There's a story there. There's a generational pattern there. There's a pattern of blame or of anger or of self judgment, even. And so, if you slow down enough and soften enough to what's going on inside you, you might be able to tune into the sense you have, or the thought you have, or the feeling you have, to just give it a little bit of breathing room. Just give it a little bit of breathing room. Give it a little bit of life so that it can get a little bigger. And it's okay. You can decide you're safe to do this. Just big enough so you can actually see it or hear it. Now, on another day, I'll talk about awareness, but I mean, awareness practices are going to increase your capacity to be able to notice these things. Any kind of body based awareness practice, meditation, not mindfulness. Please don't talk to me about mindfulness. Um, that's just like staying busy with your mind, slowing and clearing your internal experience so that you can pick up on what the heck is going on in there and where does that feel stuck. Is my chest tight? Is my jaw clenched? Is my right hip holding something since I was pregnant? Is my are my shoulders, a lot of my clients have a lot of tension on the shoulders that says if they're walking around for the last 10 years like carrying a huge weight and feeling like, well, no one else is going to do it, so it's all on me. I got to do it. So just pay attention to any of these stories that you might be carrying, that you might be dragging around with you, any of the things that have you in a place where resentment is an emotion that's coming up for you. Start to listen to where it's coming from. Start to listen to where it goes in your body. And I want you to start exploring when it comes up, what was going on just before that? What story are you kind of swimming in? What energy or emotion is getting backed up in you that is creating this feeling toward your kids? And for the record, I also want to say, I know that your children aren't perfect. I don't have to know them. I have my own children. I know myself. I know there is no perfection, and it doesn't exist, and it never will. So there's no illusion of perfection here, you guys. There's no illusion of perfection. That is a complete waste of time. The idea is not that it's all your fault that you're feeling resentment. So don't hear me saying that. But the idea is if I can find out what I'm bringing to the table, if I can find out what my kids are reflecting to me about what I'm feeling, then I can do something with it. Then I can create transformation. Then I can transmute that energy. And then I can have more available for joy, for the things I want to do. I can start to focus on how to meet my needs. I can start to focus on what I'm needing and feeling, and I can register that and I can take action on that. And once you see and know these things, then you can get some help to figure out what to do with them. Got it? So let's do it. Take these things into practice, into your awareness. Play with them. See what comes. I'd love to hear about it. Okay. Let me know how this goes. And leave me some comments. If you watch this and you get something out of it, please hit the like button, tag a friend. You are welcome to ask me questions down below, and I'll circle back and do my best to answer those. And yeah, stay tuned. Over the next few weeks, we're gonna be uncovering more taboos of motherhood and bringing them into the light to help you to face the scary monsters and know what to do with them. All right, ladies, love ya, and I'll see you soon.